What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Cliff Show, brought to you by 14th and Market Podcast Network. Tonight, Game 2, Sixers versus Knicks, Madison Square Garden. I wanted to talk about some keys to the game, how the Sixers should come out and win this game, and just pretty much give y'all a game preview. And like I said, give some key points of how the Sixers should and could win this game, tie the series up, bring it back to Philly. But without further ado, here's the intro. Yeah, man. So, like I said, game 2 tonight, Sixers versus Knicks. Sixers should come out of this game with a W, should tie the series up, and they should bring this back to Philadelphia. And to me, they should win this one pretty confidently. Now, there are some things that I want to get into to discuss how the Sixers should win, what they have to clean up, the best ways for them to win, and how to get like a big victory out of this, because they need like a big victory coming out of this just to get some confidence back, depending on how Joel's knee feels, because that's first and foremost. If he's not feeling right, then of course Sixers pretty much have no chance, and then we got to start looking forward to the offseason, which there will be no more Tobias Harris, but we could talk about that later. But first, key to the game. We all know what it is: rebounding, 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 rebounding. The Sixers have to rebound versus a Knicks team that wins their games because they're gritty, because they're grinding, because they can muck things up, because they win on the margins. This is how they get their W's. They're going to out-rebound you. They're going to hustle. They're going to get those 50-50 balls. Like, this is how they win games, because they're not as talented as the other teams, except for Jalen Brunson, who is a star in the league, right? But they're not as talented as other teams, so they have to win in other ways. Now, I'm not trying to discredit the Knicks at all. They are a talented team. They're just not as talented as the other teams in the NBA. But the Sixers have to rebound. They were out-rebounded 55-33 last game. Simply can't happen. Knicks had 23 offensive rebounds. Defensive rebounding has been a problem for the Sixers all season, and I pretty much knew that it would, come back to bite them in the playoffs, because they never truly figured it out during the regular season, right? And I'm pretty sure that was hard to figure out, because they were without Joel Embiid and they were trying to figure out other ways for them to win games while Joel Embiid was out. But it was even a problem while he was there. I just don't think they had the time to figure it out. But they just have to lock in, find a man, box out. It's very simple. Don't let Josh Hart kill you on the rebounds. It should be a point to where Josh Hart does not have double-digit rebounding in this game, right? Whoever is guarding him, every single time a shot goes up, somebody needs to find Josh Hart, and they need to put a body on to make sure he's not getting those fly in from the perimeter rebounds where it's going to give the Knicks more momentum, give them second chance opportunities. That just simply can't happen. You can't let that happen and let the Knicks in Madison Square Garden get some energy, right? You have to zap the energy out of that building pretty quickly, and you have to dominate them on the glass. So I'm just going to look at Joel Embiid, look at Tobias Harris, Nick Batum, Kelly Oubre. If Nick Nurse wants to implement some different rotations, as far as putting in KJ Martin or Ricky Council, just to inflict some energy, make sure these guys, everybody on the Sixers is hitting the glass hard, making sure they are out rebounding the Knicks, putting a body on them, boxing out. But that is the number one key. You have to rebound. If you rebound and you out rebound the Knicks, it's going to be very hard for them to win this game, because like I said, they don't have many shot creators, and they're just not going to beat you with talent. You have to win on the margins. Second, right? Jalen Brunson. So Jalen Brunson had a bad game last game. He was pretty much shut down by the Sixers. He had, let me see, where'd it go? Oh my God. 22 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, shot 8 for 26 from the field, 30%. He was 1 for 6 from 3. But you can't expect that to happen again. Pretty sure Thibs will adjust. Jalen Brunson being a great player, he will adjust as well. So I expect him to have a better game tonight. But the Sixers shouldn't be worried. Stick to your game plan. You know what works. You know that you just keep him in that little pocket to where he only can put up a mid-range shot, knowing that is a lesser percentage shot. Just keep him in that little pocket. Make him think about everything. Make everything tough on him. You're not going to be able to stop him, but you can contain him. And it has shown in the past that Nick Nurse's defense does do well versus stars. So don't feel discouraged if he does go on a little run. He's a great player. Just know to stick with their philosophy and make sure that you are containing Jalen Brunson, and you are doing everything that you can to stop him from getting into a rhythm that will basically destroy you. Like, don't let him go off for 35, 40. Keep him in that 25, 30 point range. Make sure every shot shot is difficult. He's of course going to hit some difficult shots. That's cool. Just don't worry about that. Just make sure you're staying good in your defensive philosophy, your defensive scheme, and you're not getting out of rotations and things like that to where you're now scrambling. I like the game plan that they had, letting Josh Hart shoot threes. You can't expect him to hit. I saw a stat that he didn't hit three threes in a game all season, and last game he hit 4. You can't expect Deuce McBride to have 21 again, a career night. You just can't, I think Bogdan went off as well. Can't expect those things again tonight. Stay good in your defensive philosophy, mix some things up as well. Those will be key. Like I said, just contain Jalen Brunson. Don't do anything extra. Nick Nurse is great at adjusting. Sixers should be fine there, right? Another thing, Maxey has to have a better first half, point blank, period. He didn't really catch fire or like get involved into the game until late in the third quarter when Joel was already out. Well, no, Joel had come back by that time, but he didn't really catch fire until late in the third quarter and kind of like impose his will as who he is and like knowing that he's really unguardable, especially with his speed, his ability to step back, his ability to get all the way to the rim and get into the mid range as well. He has to continue to stay confident and not just take himself out of the game. It was a lot of times in game one where he was just deferring entirely too much. And I know you got MVP Joel Embiid on the court, but sometimes you got to wave Joel off like, bro, let me handle this. Or if I'm running the set is for me to get the ball back. Like sometimes Joel has to understand that he has to be the hub. Like he has to be, you can run an offense through Joel without Joel taking a shot. And I think that is a chemistry that he and Maxey have to have. So where it's like, okay, like I see you cooking. I see you got the hot hand right now. Let me get the ball, distract the defense where it's just going to eventually get back to you and you're going to get an easier shot. I can take pressure off of you. But I'm not concerned about that because Maxey and Joel have been working off of each other all season before the Joel injury, even when he came back. They have a good chemistry there. They kind of do always notice when one of the other is hot. Usually they're hot together. So it's kind of like a give and take. All right, who wants to take this shot here? How can we do? You know what I'm saying? How can we take pressure off of each other? Last game was pretty much an outlier, but like I said, the last 4 minutes of my last video, Joel just started ISOing and shooting jumpers when he hasn't been able to hit his jumper consistently since he's been back. So I do think that this will be a better game for Tyrese Maxey. I do think like it clicked in him because he's had good games in the past in playoffs history, in the playoffs before. Like I'm not worried about him in the playoffs. It's just like I guess it like kind of took him a while to get into the groove and like wake up and like, all right, well, the playoffs are here. Oh my God, what was that? But time to be Tyrese Maxey. So has to have a better first half. Ended the game with 33 points last night. I expect more of the same. I just don't think the Knicks can guard him. And if they do guard him, and I mean, they do develop a different game plan to try to stop him, then I think Joel will go off. Like you can't really stop them both. So going to be really interesting to see what happens. But Tyrese Maxey has to take a lot more shots in the first half. He has to be comfortable, and Joel and everyone else has to take the pressure off of him, right? Leading into my next thing, Joel Embiid, he was great in that first half last night. I think the Sixers win that game pretty easily if he does not get like fake hurt. Like we still don't know what happened. He told Nick Nurse that his knee does feel good, but if he doesn't get fake hurt, I do think that the Sixers win that game pretty easily. He was imposing his will down low. He was getting really physical with the Knicks. And like I said in my last video in the preview for game 1, I was worried about him being physical with his knee, but he looked fine at the beginning of that game in that first quarter and that first half before the injury. I want him to do more of the same, but I also want him to really try to, if he does have lift in his knee, to really try to find his mid-range jumper because that's what made him so unguardable earlier in the season before the injury. You really couldn't stop him because he was hitting his mid-range at like a 75% clip or something, or 65%, I think. And he would jab step, get you back, pull up for the jumper. If not, if you played up too close, he would drive past you. He was able to be physical with you. He was able to get rebounds. Like he was doing everything. You really couldn't stop him, and you didn't know how to stop because he was killing people from different areas of the floor because he was just being so unstoppable, so unguardable. And he just has to find his mid-range again, right? So if he does have his lift back, if he can get his mid-range back, the Sixers should win this game pretty easily. But I think he should focus on that as well as being physical and taking some pressure off of his knee. Leads me into my next point. Other players have to help the Sixers out too, right? They have to help Embiid, they have to help Maxey, the bench, and the others. They have to take pressure off of Joel and Tyrese, and they have to score. They have to be more aggressive because they are going to have the shots. They are going to be open. So Nick Batum, Kelly Oubre, Buddy Hield if he gets time. Even Tobias. Like at this point, I'm looking at everybody. Everybody has to look for their shot because the Knicks are going to be so aggressive in guarding Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey that these other players will be open. There's a couple times where Kelly Oubre was open, Nick Batum was open, Buddy Hield was open. They just weren't shooting the ball. I don't know if it's because they were tired on defense. I don't know if because they were scared. I don't know if the moment was too big. I don't know. But you don't expect that to happen from veteran players like Kelly Oubre, like Nick Batum, like Buddy Hield. Kyle Lowry had a good game yesterday, but you can't expect 18 points from Kyle Lowry, right? It's the like I expect Nick Nurse to employ campaign a little bit, maybe throw Ricky Council in there. Like, just you have to get some type of energy and some type of production from the others, right? Because you're not going to just singly win the series off of your two stars, off of Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. They're not going to be able to do everything because the defense will be solely focused on them. So what the Sixers have to do, what the Sixers have to do is get the others involved, like Nick Nurse already said. Have to get Batum involved, have to get Kelly more involved, have to get Buddy Hield more involved. Have to, I guess deploy Ricky Council. Like I should like Kelly Oubre should average at least 15 points in this series. It's just what he has to do, knowing that you don't know what you're going to get out of Tobias. So you as Kelly Oubre have to be more aggressive. Nick Batum has to shoot the ball more. Looking at Paul Reed had a pretty good game last game. I'm expecting Campaign to be used more, just to be a second ball handler, to be able to attack the rim, put pressure on the rim. But these guys have to step up. I think the Knicks had 42 bench points and the Sixers had 7 bench points last game. That simply cannot happen again. They have to step up. They have to take pressure off of Joel and Tyrese in order to win this series. But my prediction on tonight is the Sixers will win this series. And if they want to be serious about themselves, then what they will do is impose their will early. And this will be a blowout win, bring it back to Philadelphia, and series will be tied, right? So these are the keys, and these are some things they have to do. Like I said, you're not going to stop Jalen Brunson. You hope to contain him. You stick to your game plan. It worked really well. The Sixers did not have a bad game last game, right? I honestly think that the Sixers only lose that game because the Joel injury just pretty much sapped all of the energy out, like the emotional energy out of the Sixers. And so for Kyle Lowry to kind of get them back into the game, and they did have a lead in that third quarter going into, and it was tied going into the fourth or something like that. They did have that lead, but I just think it was just so emotionally draining, fighting back, coming back, that they didn't know, they really just couldn't withstand like that Knicks little mini run that they had in the fourth. But like I said, these are the keys to the game. Make sure you guys like and subscribe the video. If you're listening on anything, holla at y'all.